Masterful ride, and you join a small group who have won back-to-back derbies, Eddie, and I guess we can say you drive well in traffic. You'd make a good New York taxi driver.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm just glad I have the stock that's under me, the horses that can run, and that helps.
Well, yeah, the trainer, David Cross, of course, who loves this horse deeply and has been with him, says that it isn't going to matter. The sloppy track, the post position, or anything, that he has the best horse. What do you think?
Well, I've seen him run well on the farm. They showed he's won 2 or 3 races in the slop and way off. So whatever David says, I think he's right.
Of course, if you want to keep clean today, you'd like to get out in front first, wouldn't you?
Well, laying second would be fine. I can stand a little mud.
Have you seen the horse since you got here in Baltimore? How's the rash?
I haven't seen him, but I heard the rash is good. It's real well.
So he can do about anything. You've been quoted as saying that, can't he?
Well, he's done everything so far, unless something happens today. Anything can happen in a horse race, but if nothing happens to him today, I think he'll show it today.
Well, he's worked very well here at Pimlico, and we know how you can ride and have a good, safe trip, Eddie.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much.
And now let's go to Jim McKay in the paddock.
Let's have a look now at the odds as they stand at this moment for the 108th running of the Preakness Stakes. The entry of Deputed Testamony and Parfaitement held at 12-1. Number 2, Playfellow, 7-1. Number 3 is High Honors, 18-1. Number 4, CONERLY, High Honors, 15-1. Chaz CONERLY at 70-1. Number 5, Bet Big, 16-1. Number 6 is Marfa from California, 5-1. He was the favorite for the Derby. Number 7, Desert Wine, 9-2, 4.5-1 in other words. Number 8, Paris Prince, 45-1. Number 9 in the rain-splattered Kentucky Derby 2 weeks ago today. He was well placed all the way and led a determined Desert Wine as they splashed their way through the wind and the rain down the stretch. Sonny's Halo was not to be beaten that day. Caveat was a strong finishing third, but later dropped out of Preakness consideration. Now, this is Desert Wine, subject of a medication controversy here this week. The Maryland Commission denied him permission to run on Lasix as a confirmed leader, but the ruling was reversed in court yesterday. Jockey Chris McCarron, returning to the Maryland track where he started his career, will let his free-running mount have his head and stay close to the lead. Trainer Jerry Fanning feels better after yesterday's court ruling. Here's Marfa, beaten favorite in the Derby, also running on Lasix today. Marfa is a member of the Running Wounded. He'll run with a patch on his left front hoof, needed to heal a quarter crack. Jockey Jorge Velasquez gets another chance on the colt after 2 losses in Kentucky. Trainer Wayne Lucas will order Velasquez to stay closer to the pace, not let Sonny's Halo get away. Marfa in Kentucky was not the Marfa we had seen here in the Santa Anita Derby in early April. It was his performance that day that made him the Kentucky Derby favorite. This colt has an explosive move coming around the stretch turn, but one still must be aware of his tendency to lug in or bear to the left as he begins the stretch run. Marfa the Mugger is now Marfa the Mystery. Playfellow has been somewhat neglected in the pre-race talk here this week. This is the $29,000 bargain colt who beat Marfa in the Bluegrass but faded in the Derby. His jockey, Jean Cruguet, at age 44, is looking for a return to the glory he knew aboard Seattle Slew. Veteran trainer HARVEY still has great faith in Playfellow and Cruguet. He thinks they can win. In the Bluegrass Stakes, Playfellow came from dead last, and as they rounded the final turn, was moving on the inside toward the leaders, Copeland and Desert Wine, and Marfa charging on the outside. Watch as Marfa lugs in, veers sharply to the left, overpowering jockey Velasquez. Watch also how Playfellow narrowly avoids trouble and takes the lead. As you will see, Copeland almost lost his rider, was injured and out of the Derby. Desert Wine also was impeded. But Playfellow held off the furious drive of Marfa to win. Marfa was disqualified from 2nd place to 4th. Playfellow was superb that day, but he then finished a well-beaten 6th in the Kentucky Derby. The question now arises, did the Bluegrass take so much out of Marfa and Playfellow that it spoiled their Derby chances? It may be. If so, can they return to form today?
Parfaitement is a big, handsome horse. 7 career victories, second in that regard only to Sonny's Halo in the Preakness field. A horse with Herb McCauley as his jockey and Billy Boniface as his trainer. A horse that has shown real speed. Witness the 2nd division of the recent Wood Memorial. coming down the stretch. Placed second, fighting it out, head-to-head with Slew of Gold, Cordero up, and High Honors, a fast finishing third. Parfait de Mont finishing second, losing out, but showing the speed he's capable of. Parfait de Mont will be coupled with Deputed Testamony, regarded by some as the true dark horse in the field. Deputed Testamony, good speed. Don Miller, the jockey, his first Preakness mount, leading apprentice rider 2 years ago. Again, Billy Boniface. Paris Prince, one of 3 California horses in this Preakness field, trained by the legendary Las Barrera. And Terry Lipham, the steady-going veteran jockey, aboard. And this horse has superb breeding, sired by exclusive native out of a Northern Dancer mare in the Kentucky Derby 2 weeks ago. Watch for the arrow. There it is. And Paris Prince, superbly placed, apparently, around the turn and coming into the stretch, ready to make a move, apparently. But Paris Prince faded and finished 10th. Bet big. May be bet big today because this horse has the early speed that was lacking in the Kentucky Derby. And Bet Big proved it in the Preakness prep. He'll be ridden by Roger Velez, who got a court stay of a 7-day suspension so he could ride today. Sonny HINE is the trainer. And you want to see the speed in the Preakness prep that Bet Big showed? There it is, driving down the stretch, holding on to the lead. And some feel if he can do the same thing today, he might steal the 108th running of this great classic. High Honors, of course, is the fast finishing horse. He's shown that in past races. Veteran Lou Rondinello, the trainer. Miguel Rivera, the jockey. And then there is the horse of which former President Jimmy Carter is part owner, Flag Admiral, and that's the principal interest in the horse, to be truthful. Pat Day, a fine jockey. Ambrose CREMEN, the trainer. Then there's Chaz Connolly, winner of the Gotham, winner of the Swift. The jockey, Kenny Skinner. The trainer, Mervyn Marks. The name, of course, after the once great quarterback. And Common Sense, the jockey, J.C. Penney. The trainer, Dennis Manning. Not given much of a chance by most, but who can tell? The Preakness field, the outsiders.
The strategy we used going into the Derby and the way the race unfolded, we're not going to beat horses as Desert Wine and Sonny's Halo. We can't spot those horses that much room down the backside. We laid, I think, 13th or 14th down the backside, and we can't do that in the Preakness or we're going to get beat again. You can't take a horse that's Sonny's Halo's caliber and let him set out on the front like that, running easy, and then try to make up 12, 14 lengths on him in the stretch when he's still fresh, because he's a horse that has good speed and keeps on running, which is a great combination in this game. But I think we can change our strategy. I think Marfa's got the ability to lay closer, and I think we can lay closer and maybe make a run in the stretch at him. Hopefully that'll work.
It took a court ruling to assure Desert Wine's appearance in the Preakness. The ruling, made yesterday in Baltimore, lets him run on Lasix as a confirmed bleeder. I asked trainer Jerry Fanning why it's so important for his colt to run on the diuretic called Lasix.
Well, he didn't perform very well in the Santa Anita Derby, and he was scoped after the race and showed some bleeding in his trachea, and that's blood that is pumped up from the lungs, and Lasix is a diuretic, and it also lowers the blood pressure in the animal, and it makes him perform well.
Kentucky Derby winner Sonny's Halo has been like a movie star with a complexion problem this week. In the spotlight and as talented as ever, but not quite as beautiful. I asked trainer David Cross if everything's all right now.
Everything's just fine now. I mean, surface-wise, it doesn't look all that good. I don't like to present him the way that he is naturally, because I'm very proud of the colt. But it just can't be helped. It does leave scurf all over them and everything. It's not very appealing to look at. But as far as health-wise and physical and everything else, I couldn't ask for anything better.
David, some people continue to talk of your horse as a front runner. You disagree with that, I know. Where would we see him placed, would you think, in the Preakness?
Well, that's going to be up to Delahousie and, you know, how the horse breaks out of the gate and everything. If he shows a lot of speed on his own natural speed coming out of there and makes the lead, that's fine. If not, it doesn't matter anyways. He can run from any part of it. He doesn't have to. That's why I say he's very, very versatile.
He's got the 11th starting position in a gate of 13 horses. Is that going to be a problem?
No, that doesn't. They're all in there together. Somebody's got to be 11. It doesn't make any difference. I've never give post position much thought at all.
What do you think the scene will be in Paddy C's about race time up in Toronto?
I don't know. Naturally, I won't be there, but they'll be doing some hooting and hollering anyways. They'll have a good time.
Earlier in clement weather at the Pimlico race course as we get ready for the post parade in the 108th running of the Preakness Stakes. The #1 horse is Deputed Testamony. Don Miller, the jockey, Bill Boniface, the trainer. He'll be racing out of the 3rd hole, a Maryland-bred horse. He is coupled with #1A, Parfait de Mont, which ran so well in the 2nd division of the recent Wood Memorial. Herb McCauley, intelligent, articulate, the jockey. Boniface again, the trainer. The #2 horse is Playfellow, and of course, Harvey VANIER is the trainer. Jean Cruguet of Seattle Slew fame is the jockey. He'll be racing out of the 9th hole. And High Honors is the #3 horse, the late finishing horse, highly regarded by many. Miguel Rivera is the jockey. He'll be racing out of the 2nd hole, and the veteran trainer, Lou Rondinello. Then comes Chaz Connolly, named after the former Great Giant quarterback. Kenny Skinner, the jockey, and Marvin Marks is the trainer. He'll be racing out of the 4th hole. The early speed should come from Bet Big, racing out of the 5th hole. He's the #5 horse. Roger Velez, the jockey. Hugh HINE, the trainer. The #6 horse, the often talked about, frequently in the past maligned Marfa. Marfa with the quarter crack. Jorge Velasquez, one of the great jockeys aboard. Wayne Lucas, the trainer, racing out of the 6th hole. And the 7-horse Desert Wine. You've heard about Desert Wine. Chris McCarron, maybe the best riding jockey in the land at this moment, is the man aboard. Jerry Fanning, the trainer, out of the 7th hole. Paris Prince, Las Barrera's horse. Terry Lipham, the jock, riding out of the 8th hole. Then comes the lowly regarded 9-horse Common Sense, racing out of the 10th hole. Manning, the trainer, and the jockey J.C. Penney. Then comes everybody's favorite. Maybe this horse will have the look of greatness about him after this race. Sonny's Halo, Eddie Della Houssaye up. And, of course, the jockey David Cross out of the 11th hole. Flag Admiral, the horse former President Carter owns a part of. Ambrose Cremen, the trainer. Pat Day, an outstanding rider, up. He'll be racing out of the 12th hole. So there it is, the field for the 108th running of the Preakness Stakes. The current odds, Deputed Testamony and Parfait de Mont, coupled 12-1. Playfellow 7-1. High Honors 14-1. Chaz Connolly 60-1. Bet Big 18-1. Marfa now down to 9-2. Moving along, Desert Wine up to 5-1. Paris Prince 40-1. Common Sense 40-1. Sonny's Halo even money. Flag Admiral 23-1. And we will be back here at the Pimlico race course in just a moment. The skies still clearing, splashes of blue, and we look for a great race.
Well, Howard, I just can't go any further than Sonny's Halo in this race. I think he's got all the advantages. He's already proven he can go 1.25 miles. This race is a little bit shorter. That's to his advantage, unless somebody challenges him or tries to do something that'll make him wear out his ability early in the race. I can't see that happening, and so I would have to go with Sonny's Halo, absolutely.
Very quickly, will Bet Big provide some early speed that was absent in the Derby?
Well, all his good races, he has been on the lead, and he should show speed, but I don't think that's going to be any hindrance to Sonny's Halo. He doesn't have to be on the lead. If something happens, there's no speed. He can do whatever he wants. He's, as he has mentioned before, he's a very versatile horse. I just can't see anybody beating him.
And Bill, just as quickly, could Marfa, if Wayne Lucas's strategy as described to Jim works, could Marfa win despite the quarter crack?
Well, yes, but by the same token, if he still puts that run in by laying closer, of course. But it's not as simple as that. Sometimes when you use a come from behind horse up early to get a contending position, he may hang himself. When I say hang, I mean he'll he won't do the closing ground through the stretch. So there's always that possibility. I think that Lukas is taking that chance because it's his only alternative.
Now, Bill, we've established that there's surface slop here despite a firm bottom. Now, what about Playfellow, which seems to like slop based upon his racing history?
Now, you know, Howard, I liked him a bit in the Derby. I thought he'd run a good race. He didn't run all that bad. He was beaten a total of 4 lengths. He could still improve. He could be the outsider in the race.
You, my friend, are the best prepared man ever to come out of thoroughbred racing. Thank you very much. Here's Jim McKay.
All right, Howard and Bill, thank you very much. There is a rumor floating around here, and it is only that so far, that should one of the California horses beat out the entry of Parfaitement and Deputed Testamony, that there may be a protest of some sort from trainer Billy Boniface, Maryland trainer. One of his horses a Maryland bred, the other a Pennsylvania bred. That's only a rumor. We should be aware of it, but that protest wouldn't come until later on. It would be something you'd hear about a little bit later. There is number 4 is Chaz CONERLY, named after the former New York Giants quarterback, owned by restaurateur Danny Lovezzo, owner of P.J. Clark's up in New York, trained by MERVIN Magoo Marks, ridden by jockey Kenneth Skinner. Number 1 is Deputed Testamony, ridden by Donnie Miller, a great thrill for him, a Maryland jockey in the Preakness. Here are the odds again. Deputed Testamony and Parfaitement, the entry at 13-1, Playfellow at 7-1, High Honors at 14-1. Chaz CONERLY 60-1 now. Bet Big, owned by one of the owners of this racetrack, 19-1. Marfa at 9-2, that's 4.5-1. Desert Wine also held at 9-2. Paris Prince at 45-1, trained by Las Barrera. Common Sense from Massachusetts, 40-1. Sonny's Halo at even money, the favorite in the race and a strong favorite. Flag Admiral, the one partially owned by former President Carter, 25-1. Current Hope was scratched earlier this afternoon. Here is the Woodlawn Vase. This is the permanent trophy for the Preakness, a replica of which will be given to the winner's owner. This will not be given away because it is the most valued trophy in American sport, most recently appraised this year for $1 million. The Woodlawn Vase. They get your name on that, your horse's name if you win the race, but you just get a replica. Nancy VANIER and Carl Lauer, Dr. and Mrs. Carl Lauer, he's an optometrist from St. Louis. And Robert Victor. Jean Cruguet, the jockey, remember, 44 years old, won the Triple Crown with Seattle Slew. He was the oldest jockey ever to win the Derby at that time, still is, and here he is all these years later. Little trouble getting Playfellow in there. There he is on the inside post position, an interesting shot, looking down the line. In a minute or so, they'll be all filled up. There is High Honors, owned by the president of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Dan Galbraith, and ridden by Mike Rivera, who rode Little Current to victory here back in the early 70s. Number 4, Chaz CONERLY, again, Kenneth Skinner up. A field of 12 horses will be going in. Number 5, there is Bet Big, owned by Mrs. Ben Cohen. Her husband is the treasurer of the Pimlico Race Course. A lot of local interest, trained by Sonny HINE, ridden by Roger Velez, who appealed to suspension to get into this race. Number 6 is Marfa, the gray horse from California. Marfa the mystery, well, we'll see. He got in very nicely. In the past, he's been a little fractious, as you know. Number 7, Desert Wine, running on Lasix through a court ruling yesterday, remember, because of the bleeding thing that Bill discussed with Howard so expertly. Number 8 is Paris Prince, owned by Mrs. Dolly Green, trained by the Hall of Fame trainer Las Barrera, ridden by Terry Lipham, who came from the quarter horse tracks. He's about 40 years old, a seasoned, experienced rider. Looking for number 9 now to get in there. There he comes, Common Sense. Horse from Massachusetts. His trainer, Dennis Manning, told me, I really believe in this horse. 1A, excuse me, was going in, Parfaitement, as the others are loaded in. There's number 9, Common Sense. Let's go to Dick Woolley, high above the track. Dick?
All right, they're moving into the starting gate. We have 1 or 2 on the outside, waiting on the 11-horse Flag Admiral going in there, the favorite Sonny's Halo. They're in there ready for the Preakness. All in line. All set to go. The starter looks over the field. They're off for the Preakness. Between horses, Parfaitement. Down along the inside, it's Desert Wine. Bet Big. Up on the outside, Sonny's Halo coming on. Then it's Paris Prince. Down along the inside, Deputed Testamony. Between horses, Chaz CONERLY. Marfa, far on the outside, Flag Admiral. Then it's Common Sense down along the inside. High Honors. They move on around the turn. And it's Desert Wine going to the front. Parfaitement in second place. Sonny's Halo up on the outside, third. Down along the rail, Deputed Testamony. Bet Big races fifth. Along the inside, it's Playfellow. Way on the outside, Marfa, Jazz Conerly. Paris Prince on the outside, down along the inside, Flag Admiral. And then it's Common Sense and High Honors. They race on to the half-mile pole, and it's Desert Wine down along the rail. Sonny's Halo a half a length off the lead as they race into the far turn. Up on the outside, Bet Big is third. Parfait-Mont dropping back. Marfa on the outside. They move on around the turn, and it's Desert Wine by a neck. Sonny's Halo between them. Up on the outside, it's Bet Big. They move on around the turn. Desert Wine down along the rail. Bet Big on the outside. Marfa coming on as they turn for home. Deputed Testamony down along the inside. They come through the lane. It's Desert Wine. Deputed Testamony charging along the rail. Marfa's on the outside. Deputed Testamony down along the rail. Desert Wine on the outside. It's Deputed Testamony. He's got the lead by 2. Desert Wine is second. Deputed Testamony in front. Here's the finish. Deputed Testamony wins it. Desert Wine was second, and High Honors came on. Deputed Testamony wins the Preakness for 1983, and now back to Jim McKay.
What a finish. Deputed Testamony has won the Preakness Stakes. He is a Maryland-bred horse. He won the Federico Tazio on this track earlier this spring in the fastest time of 1 mile and a 16th recorded. He is trained by Billy Boniface, whose father, Big Bill Boniface, they call him, was racing writer for the Baltimore Evening Sun, sent in the press box here for 40 years, and his first year in retirement has seen his son's horse win the Preakness Stakes. The jockey, Donnie Miller, born and raised in the outskirts of Baltimore, and now he has won the Preakness. What a tremendous local story. Unofficial, of course. Unofficially second was number 7, Desert Wine. Deputed Testamony failed in the Bluegrass Stakes. An interesting point here is that Billy Boniface races his horses from the farm, Bonita Farm, up in Bel Air, Maryland. He never has stalls at the racetrack. This horse left the farm at 11:30 this morning, that's all, to come to the race. Let's look at the stretch run here. Bill, let's have another look at this. Here they come down the stretch. Desert Wine in front of him here.
Well, Desert Wine ran his typically good race. He was on the lead. He had no interference whatsoever. He ran his typical honest race, and he kept on running. Deputed Testamony was too much for him today. Marfa was laying up close, hung a bit through the stretch, didn't put that closing kick in, although he did look like at one time that he was going to do it. Sonny's Halo, to me, had the only horse that may have had an excuse. And if you run the replay back to the gate, he didn't get off very bad. Had to use his horse up early, and it could have told a tale. Now you see Deputed Testamony. He comes through on a rail, and he beats Desert Wine handily.
Okay. Once again, Deputed Testamony, the winner of the Preakness. He is by a stallion named Traffic Cop, who stands at Bonita Farm for $1,000. He won't next year. You can be sure of that. I think maybe we have... Donnie, can you hear me? This is Jim McKay.
Yes, I can.
Well, what's your reaction? Can you put it into words?
Excited as heck. Oh, he ran a really good race.
Would you describe the race just briefly?
Everything went pretty well. He was just sitting behind the leaders, and we got up around the turn. He started picking them up without a whole lot of trouble. It opened up, turned for home. He just went right on through and went on about his business.
When you were a kid growing up near Baltimore, did you have any dreams at that time of winning the Preakness?
Not really. Well, I dreamed about it, but I never really expected to get to ride it.
Well, you have done it. It's unofficial, Donnie, but congratulations.
Oh,
you won the Preakness Stakes.
Thank you.
Again, it is unofficial, but Deputed Testamony by Traffic Cop out of Proof Requested has won the Preakness, which was taken from the old clubhouse here that burned down in the middle 1960s. Waiting for the horse to come into the winner's circle. Mr. and Mrs. Sears are down here, members of their family. It's an unbelievable story. Remember, Mr. Sears owns only half of one horse. He owns half of Deputed Testamony. The other half is owned by the trainer, Billy Boniface. And in fact, Billy also owns the sire and the dam of Deputed Testamony. So looks like quite a future in that situation. Still waiting for him to come in with jockey Donnie Miller, another Marylander, aboard. The horse, a Maryland bred. Couldn't be a bigger story for the people who've been gathered here since just after dawn this morning. The blanket of black-eyed Susans will be most appropriately draped this time over Maryland horse. Again, we should mention, of course, in the interest of accuracy, that they're not really black-eyed Susans. They don't come out till late June in Maryland. They're really daisies with the middles painted black. Okay, now here's the way they finished unofficially, still unofficial. Deputed Testamony, followed by Desert Wine, second. High Honors was third. Marfa was fourth. Playfellow fifth. Sonny's Halo, the favorite, finished sixth. This is unofficial, remember. Followed by Bet Big, Parfaitement, Common Sense, Flag Admiral, and Charles Connelly. The applause growing here in the winner's circle and on the stand where we are. Governor Hughes behind us and the officials of Pimlico Racetrack. This should be a pretty good payoff. The last odds, as I recall, were something like 14-1 on the entry of Parfaitement and Deputed Testamony. Howard and Bill, a surprise.
Yes, a very surprising finish, though we noted earlier that some regarded Deputed Testamony as the real dark horse of the race. Bill, let's take another look at the race, and you take over analyzing it for us as we go.
If you look closely, the favorite Sonny's Halo had a little difficulty leaving the gate. We'll look at that back on the isolated camera a little later on. Desert Wine gets a good break. As you see here, he's coasting. He gets a good position. He's on the lead, and he's coasting. They're working their way into the first turn. You see Desert Wine drop over to the rail. Sonny's Halo has now worked himself up into a second position. We've got Parfaitement, the other half of the entry, laying second, and of course the other part of the field are just getting into their positions going into the first turn. Disputed Testamony at this time was a little bit back. I was paying attention to the leaders. It's hard to cover them all. Desert Wine is again on the lead. Now Sonny's Halo has made his run, and he's got up into a good contending position, but he may have used a bit out of his horse because of his bad break. The horses that were laying third and fourth are, you can see they're about finished because Desert Wine and Sonny's Halo at this particular point are running in tandem, practically in tandem. Parfaitement is starting to drop back a bit, and on the outside, Bet Big makes a kind of a bid. I was a little bit surprised he didn't show early speed. He may have had a little problem leaving the gate himself. He makes a tremendous move up on the outside, and the three of them are together. Once he gets up on the outside of Sonny's Halo is finished. He's struggling right now. Marfa makes a run on the outside. He's moved him up into a fairly close position at the 3/8 pole, and he's in a contending position to win. At the same time, Disputed Testamony, now laying second on the inside, has found room on the rail, and he's moving up to challenge Desert Wine, who's on the lead. Desert Wine doesn't give up, but Disputed Testamony is absolutely the strongest horse at the finish, and he's starting to draw away from Desert Wine at the finish, and the rest of the horses are just staggering in behind him.
Very good, Bill. And as you may have noted during the course of Bill's recital, Deputed Testamony saved ground all the way around the track, always on the inside. A brilliant ride by the youngster Donald Miller Jr., who 2 years ago was the leading apprentice rider here. And now we're going to take an isolated look at Sonny's Halo. Out of the 10-hole, Bill, take over.
Okay, number 10, that's Sonny's Halo, second from the outside. He doesn't break real sharply, and he's almost broke into the rear. He has broke into the rear quarters of the horse on the inside of him. That's Common Sense. It takes him a while to get back, to get into stride. He's back. He's almost last at this particular stage. Eddie has to move him up early because otherwise he's going to get hung up on the outside. He does move him up, and he takes advantage of getting between his horses, and he does get up into a contending position early. But by the same token, he had to use his horse up, and that could have had something to do with him not finishing as well as he normally does. Like I say, now he's got into a contending position. He's going to stay in third position. They're just getting ready to turn down the backside. I thought while the race was being run that Eddie was riding his horse a little bit. There could have been a problem. Maybe the horse is not handling the track as well as he did at Churchill Downs, because at Churchill Downs at this stage of the game, he was wrapped up with a handful of horse. They turned down the backside. Sonny's Halo has moved up to the flanks of Desert Wine and looks at this time that he is in a position of winning. All right, they continue down the backside. Parfaitement is starting to drop back, and here's where Bet Big puts in his run. He moves up on the outside of the 2 leaders, which is Desert Wine and Sonny's Halo. Jockey Velez is into a drive, and he makes a pretty good move on him, and he looks like he has some kind of a chance to win at this point. Desert Wine doesn't give up, though, as you can see. Desert Wine resists the challenge of Bet Big. Marfa moves up on the outside. Sonny's Halo is dropping back, and here comes Deputed Testamony on the inside of Sonny's Halo. I thought it did turn out that it was a terrific ride by Donald Miller Jr. He never lost a bit of ground through the stretch, and probably in the rest of the race. Here is Sonny's Halo just losing it. He's struggling, and he just holds on to 6th position.
Okay, so that's the story of Sonny Halo's race in isolation. With us now is Donald Miller Jr., the winning jockey, and we congratulate you, young man. A brilliant ride. You saved ground all the way, didn't you, on the inside?
Yes, I did. Figured I couldn't get out. I had horses all around me, so I might as well stay there and see if it opened up the head of the lane. That's what it did.
As Jim McKay said to you earlier, you never dreamed this could be, did you? 2 years ago.
I never did. Well, actually, I did dream, but I was hoping I'd get there, but never really expected it.
Okay, thank you very much, Donald.
Thanks a lot.
Again, congratulations. There are the prices. $31 for the win, $10 for the place, $6.40 for the show. Desert Wine, $4.80 for the place, $4.20 for the show. And finally, $9.60 for the show. And the complete order of finish. Deputed Testamony winning the race. Desert Wine 2nd. High Honors 3rd. Marfa 4th. Playfellow 5th. Sonny's Halo, that disappointing.